Hey guys, welcome to my cryo classroom. Today we're going to be learning about animals. Hi there, I'm your teacher for this cryo classroom lesson. Now today we're going to learn about animals, specifically animals that are currently endangered in our world. So let's get started. Alright students, so before we get into the lesson, I want you guys to grab some paper and write down 3 things that you know about animals, and then we'll go over those after I introduce the lesson. Ready? Okay. Go. Okay. So now that you've written down your 3 things, turn to your partner and share with them what you wrote. Then I'm gonna call on a few of you to share with the class some of the things you guys wrote down. Alright, so who wants to share with the class? Let's start over here. Yes, you. So you said animals eat food to survive. That is correct, and that is one of the things that all animals need to survive. They need food, water, shelter, and space to live, just like humans, right? But sometimes, when animals don't have enough of these 4 things, they can become extinct or endangered. So today, in this lesson, we're going to be learning about what it means to be an endangered species and why that happens. And we're also going to learn about some endangered species in our world today and how we can help save them from becoming extinct. So, before we get into the lesson, I want you guys to turn to page 128 in your textbooks, and we're going to read a short passage together as a class. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, read. Endangered species are animals and plants that could become extinct. Extinction is when a species disappears and never comes back. A species is a group of living things that can reproduce and have offspring that are able to live. The giant panda bear is an endangered species. There are not many of them left in the world. People have been cutting down trees to make paper and furniture. This has destroyed the pandas' homes. Without trees, the pandas have nowhere to live. If the pandas cannot find a new home, they will become extinct. And when a species becomes extinct, it never comes back. Humans are destroying many habitats, which is endangering lots of species. When a habitat is destroyed, the plants and animals living in it must either adapt to the changes or move away. If they cannot do either of these, they will die. We must do all we can to help endangered species. We can protect their habitats and encourage governments to pass laws that will help them. If we do, some species may still live on. This is why protecting our environment is so important. Okay, so once you finished reading that passage, I have a few questions for you guys. So put your hands in the air. First question. What does it mean when an animal is endangered? When an animal is endangered, it means that that animal could become extinct soon if something doesn't change. Okay, next question. What are 2 things that humans have done that have caused animals to become endangered? Well, we've cut down a lot of the trees, and we've destroyed a lot of the habitats for these animals, causing them to be endangered. And the last question I have for you is, what are 2 things that we can do to help endangered species? Well, we can protect their habitats, and we can encourage our government to make laws that will help these animals. So, if you were able to answer all of those questions correctly, give yourself a cryo classroom. Well done. Okay. So now that we've read that passage, and now that we know what endangered animals are, I want you guys to take out a piece of paper and draw an animal that is currently endangered in our world today. You can choose any endangered animal you want. Now I'm going to give you a couple minutes to draw your animal. Ready? Go. After you finish writing, compare your answers with your partner. Let's share what you came up with. You mentioned creating more protected areas for animals. That's spot on. Next, you said reduce pollution. Absolutely right. And you also wrote down encouraging reforestation. Yep, that's correct too. So, just to recap, creating protected areas, reducing pollution, and promoting reforestation are three awesome ways we can help prevent animals from becoming endangered. All right, let's start here. You drew a tiger. Why is it endangered? Right, poaching and habitat loss. Exactly. Tigers are in serious trouble, and we really need to stop poachers and protect their homes. Moving on, you drew a polar bear. What's putting them at risk? Yup, climate change. Global warming is melting the ice caps, and polar bears are losing their homes. It's a big deal. Now, you over there drew an elephant. What's the scoop? Right again, poaching and habitat destruction. I'll keep picking a few more people, but if you want to jump in, just raise your hand. Okay, you drew a sea turtle. Why are they endangered? Yes, plastic pollution and habitat destruction from hotels on the beach. So true, plastic is a huge threat to sea turtles every year. All right, so now that we know several animals that are currently endangered, I want you guys to turn to the board and write down 3 things that we can do to prevent animals from becoming extinct. All right, ready, go. After you finish writing, compare your answers with your partner. Let's share what you came up with. You mentioned creating more protected areas for animals. That's spot on. Next, you said reduce pollution. Absolutely right. And you also wrote down encouraging reforestation. Yep, that's correct too. So, just to recap, creating protected areas, reducing pollution, and promoting reforestation are 3 awesome ways we can help prevent animals from becoming endangered. So now that you guys know several things that you can do to help prevent animals from becoming endangered, I want you guys to take out a piece of paper and fold it in half. On the top part, I want you guys to write, "How can I help?" And on the bottom part, I want you guys to write down 5 things that you can do to help prevent animals from becoming endangered. All right, ready? Go. So, after you guys finish, I want you guys to get up, walk around the room, and share with a partner what you wrote down. After you share with your partner, you're going to take your paper and tape it on the board. All right, so get up, go around the room, and share with a partner. So now that we've learned about what endangered animals are, and we've learned about several things that we can do to help prevent animals from becoming endangered, I want you guys to take out a piece of paper and write down 3 things that you will personally do to help prevent animals from becoming endangered. So think about all the things that we've talked about throughout this lesson, and think about what you can do to help. All right, ready, go. So after you guys finish writing, I'm gonna go around the room and pick a couple people to share with the class what you guys wrote down. So let's start over here. So you said protect animals from poachers. That is one thing you will do to help animals from becoming endangered. Next, you said protect their habitat. That is also correct. And the last thing you said was reduce pollution. That is also correct. So if you were able to write down all 3 things correctly, give yourself a cryo classroom. Well done. Now that we've learned about endangered animals, and now that we know several things that we can do to help save endangered animals, I want you guys to get your textbooks and read the short story on pages 131. It's called The Rescue. So get your textbook, turn to page 130, and I'm going to read the first part, and then you guys can read the rest of the story to your partners. Ready? Here we go. A young kangaroo was hopping through the tall grass when suddenly he heard a loud roar. He froze in fear. Was it a lion? No. Was it a tiger? No. It was a motorcycle. A man riding the motorcycle saw the kangaroo sitting on the ground. "Hop on," he said. The man took the young kangaroo to a zoo. People came from far and wide to see the rescued kangaroo. Every day they pet him and fed him delicious food. He had everything he needed. He was very happy. Now read the rest of the story to your partner. Ready? Go. So after you guys finish reading, I want you guys to answer the following questions. Write them down on a piece of paper. Question no. 1. How did the kangaroo feel when he heard the roar? Well, he felt fear. That's correct. And the second question, why do you think the man rescued the kangaroo? Well, he probably rescued him because he didn't want him to get hit by a car. And the third question, do you think the kangaroo was happy at the zoo? Well, yes, he did. He had everything he needed. Alright, so now that we've completed today's lesson, I want you guys to take out a piece of paper and write down one new thing that you learned in today's lesson. Ready? Go. Alright, once you finish writing, I'll pick a few of you to share what you came up with. Let's start here. You learned that humans destroy habitats, making animals endangered spot. Over here, you mentioned there are tons of endangered animals today. That's right. And you learned about an animal you didn't know before. That's so cool. If you picked up at least one new thing today, give yourselves a big Cryo Classroom cheer. Awesome job, everyone. Okay. So since you guys did such an amazing job during today's lesson, I'm gonna give all of you Cryo Classroom certificates for being such good students. Now you guys get to take all your stuff and go enjoy the rest of your day. Bye class.